that we are really, really happening. And this is what I often call my picnic table, or sometimes being in a waiting room and you've just met someone or they're holding something that you're interested in, or you hear a conversation because they know other people around them can hear what they're saying. They're not whispering, they're not, closed away. And before we came on screen, I was telling Linda that I thought of her this morning when I saw a post by Neil, middle initial K, and last name is Shah, Shah, who reposted a sister's remembrance of her brother, but the focus was on the nurses that cared for him as he did the cancer and the treatments. And they said, let's head outside, knowing that he was right near the end. And even though I didn't have my earbuds in, I could see them both dancing, the one pushing the wheelchair, the one who was in front of the wheelchair, just talking and singing to this brother who, I'm going to say, appeared to be a good 20 years younger than myself. And though I could not hear the music, because like I said, I just didn't have my earbud in, I could see these people dancing with a person that they'd become so close to in providing assistance and medical needs, and that this was the final ride outside. The sister, I believe, was recording it on her phone, and then she comes on and talks about, that was a memory. And she talks about the power of music. And I'm like, I knew there was music because of the way that they were both moving at the same time. And Kurt, I've seen you and your wife moving and grooving to encourage movement. Was it your wife that was doing kind of like the half circles around like that? And then there was another gentleman on the screen. And so when I posted out about you, I wanted to make sure that people knew that this is what you're doing about it. I don't think I've had one single guest who comes on my show going, I'm here to complain. I don't have any solutions, but boy, do I feel like someone ought to do something. I find people who are doing something about it. And you are staving off isolation. You are reaching out to people. You know that there is a force that hits a person so hard that they're like, I can't live this way any longer. And it isn't because it's a disease. It's not taking their body down. It's taking who they are down. You're like, and I'm going to do something about that. So I'm really glad that both of you are here with me today. And I'm just grateful to be in your presence. So, Linda, you came on the screen first. Do either of you need to leave early? It can be a whole hour. Do either of you need to leave early?
No.
Nope. Okie doke.
I could probably talk for the hour. And I suppose Kurt could probably do the same about what his life is about.
Oh, people love to talk about what they love to talk about. And it's, when I was first practicing, I asked the question, what have you done right for someone who's challenged by, and my word is aging, or really aspects that are associated with aging? But aging happens your whole life, and challenges happen at every age in different ways. And Linda, I always want to be very privacy respectful. But you were mentioning, and you were mentioning that you also officiate, would that be the right word? A life celebration?
I have helped create them.
Helped create them. I love that.
Yes, I have been at them. I actually, that's another part of my life that I was referring to. Is that I also host what are called soulful sundown services every other week. So spiritual aspects. It's something that was begun about, and I wasn't planning on talking about this, but we'll go with it. It was begun.
It's kind of the way it goes with me. Go ahead.
20 years ago, by a group of individuals who wanted to do more than just listen to a sermon at church.
Oh.
So when they were presented with whatever the theme was, they really wanted to have some time to sit and reflect on it. Call it reflection, call it meditation, whatever you want to call it. And then knowing that our personal experience is all we have, that to share the insights we gleaned and to see how your responses are so very different from mine, and there's no judgment, there's no discussion. It's listening to each other to see how we what we thought about in our own life that related to the particular theme. And we have an opening reading and closing reading. So I used to do that. I
totally misinterpreted what you were saying, as you could tell.
That's okay. And it didn't occur to me that I needed to frame it in a different way, to say, no, I don't often do a celebrant at a celebration of life service. I have, but it's not where my focus has been. I will advise people, but it's not where my focus has been. I give presentation. Well, first of all, I wrote The Courage to Care, Being Fully Present with the Dying, which I'm proud to say won first place in its genre in the Global Book Awards. And this is when it came out in 2022, somewhere around there. and was the #1 Amazon bestseller in like 7 categories. Because why did I write it? That's where my focus has been. Because we don't talk about death and dying anymore. We don't see it in our homes. We don't know what to do. We don't know how to act. We don't know what to say. And so we're like this, oh, I can't visit that person because I might make a mistake, or because I'm just afraid of what I might find. Mm-hmm. And so the book, in non-technical language, because that's something else, across my life, whether in law or in education, I take concepts and break them down into more usual language, let's say. And so introducing us to what dying looks like, what natural dying looks like, a chapter on that, the stages we go through. So for example, I was on one of the Facebook groups, Taking Care of Aging Parents, I think it was, and someone had a question about, she was so upset because her mother her skin was beginning to turn purple. Mm. And she didn't understand that when your blood stops circulating, it pools, and the changes of your skin change, the color of your skin changes, and it's normal. It's normal. But see, we don't grow up seeing that. We don't grow up with taking care of our family members or our neighbors in the home. They're over there. So it's about that. It's about the emotional changes we go through. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. It's about what do you do when you're holding vigil? How do you prepare to be with someone? What are things you should not say when you're with someone? And of course, how music is such an important part. Music. So next year is the 25th year for Threshold Choir International. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Sharing, I'm all about sharing resources, and I'm sure Kurt is too. We gain so much information, so much expertise because we are in a place where we're exposed to so much, and we need to pass that along, because I believe, and this is the thing, I believe that every single one of us can do and be a compassionate companion to someone, whether it's their aging parents, whether it's a friend who is seriously ill, whether it's going and visiting someone in a nursing home, and getting ready for your own end of life. An end of life meaning, to me, at my stage of life, is that we have more years behind us than we have in front of us. It's not that we're dying right now, or even in the foreseeable future. So yes, it's a number of the reviews are like, it's like talking with warmth and ease with Linda across the kitchen table. And it's full of stories and songs, stories from the bedside, because I've sat at hundreds of bedsides as a bedside singer. And I'm now also a professionally certified death doula, also called an end-of-life doula.
Yes.
And strategies. So it's, yes, music, the power of music. You see it all the time, not just at end of life, but in addition to dancing and movement that you were talking about earlier with Kurt, I'd suggest we all, if we're not doing it now, to add music to our daily routine. There are so many verified health benefits of music in our life, throughout our life, not just at end of life.
Excellent. Oh, I could say that nearly everything you just said would be the first time that somebody has heard about that. Everything from the purplish hue of the skin to singing at a bedside to end-of-life doula. You said that you believe that every person can be a companion. In my experience, I definitely was around family members who were like, I can't be here for this part. What do you think turns the tide for that person who's just like, I'm entering completely unknown territory? I'm either going to make someone mad, or I'm going to cry so much I'll never stop, or the fear of the what ifs. What do you think turns for a person, or what helps them to go, but I can be present this way?
So what comes to mind is, and the book includes exercises. One of them addresses your point of, I haven't done it before. Think of all the other firsts that you've met. The first time you go to school, the first time you have a date, the first time you have a job. This is just another first. And when you come from your heart,
that's a chunk of courage.
Yeah.
But for someone who's like, I'm used to really guarding my heart from anything like that.
So I want to say two things. I want to say this isn't for everyone. And I want to say, and we could all do it if we walked through the door.
Excellent.
You know, when I meet someone for the first time and they say, what do you do? Because often that's one of my personal I'm blanking out on what I want to say. One of my my personal not goals is I refuse to ask people what they do. I never ask people if they're married. I never ask people if they have children, and I don't ask them what their job is. It's like we are more than all of that. But when they ask me, what do I do? If I say, oh, I'm a bedside singer and I visit people who are dying, it's like, whoa, I could never do that. Or the other response is, yeah, isn't music great? I remember when I brought music to my dad while he was dying, and I would put his songs on my playlist, and we would talk and we would talk, and it was such a great time. We were able to talk about things we had never talked about before, because the music is a bridge. The music is an intermediary. And she said, and now I still have that playlist. And when I hear his songs come on, I think about my dad again. Music is the bridge. Just kind of, and particularly if this is someone that you know. Too often I hear, and this includes in congregations, is once someone can't do what they used to do, all of a sudden it's like, I'm not going to spend as much time with you anymore, and the calls get fewer, the visits stop, maybe even the cards stop. And if you read the literature, one of the saddest laments of individuals who are seriously ill and have a life-limiting condition is that they feel ignored. They feel lonely. They feel left behind.
This is a wonderful moment to invite Kurt to come in. Linda, I put you on the spot with that question, and your answer was so much better than anything that I had in my mind. It's like I give them exercises. Think about all your other firsts, that you survived them, that you went on, or that you saw something and thought, that is not for me, but it was worth giving it a try, so that was solid in my mind now. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, just remind yourself this is going to be a first like that. And I love that you say it's not for everyone, but I do believe that everyone can walk through that door and practice what they've exercised, and now putting it into practice in a situation that I'm used to it. I rushed to be with family members. I felt sad when I wasn't with a family member at end of life. And there's a treasure there that, like you said, I played that music. The lady who said I played that music, or was that you that played the music with your father?
Oh, she was relaying her time with her dad.
Very good, because of the way that you responded. Mm-hmm. And she still has that playlist. She literally has a physical place to go and something to surround herself and fill her with that is so meaningful because she stepped forward in that way. So Kurt, I know that you also have a lot of different things going. What has been in your mind these last 20 minutes?
Well, I guess just connecting and appreciating what Linda does, and Christine to be able to be on this show, and just my growing into this space, that what this live stream and this conversation is all about is akin to what I've been learning about, and it's an evolving experience when you talk about end of life and getting things in order and all that, wills and trusts, whatever it might all entail. I mean, I know firsthand, in my life journey, and my lack of doing a lot of things with my wife, Sue, you know,
Mhm.
I mean, it's real that, we're in our early 50s, and, so the idea that we can wait, is always there, like a lot of things in life, procrastinating. And, so like I say, we're in our early 50s, and then to think of the aging topic, and to think of, people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I, have fun with people like with the two of you in your audience, hey, you're all welcome to my 100th birthday, because there's this thing that we can think about, are we putting our energy into something that's about life and getting the most out of life, or are we going to hang around and build off of our mortality and the reality that death will happen. But I appreciate the expertise you have, Linda, because I know for myself, I really lean on what you're doing, because after 5 decades of life, I really haven't matured much at all in terms of, my comfort and, feeling I'm really showing up the way I could be and engaging the way I could be at funerals or things like this. I'm one of those people that, still has that, awkwardness, in participating in those environments. And, we do it because it's the thing to do. But to go to the books, or to learn from folks like yourself, I really don't set aside the time to do that. So we run the pattern like, oh, there's a funeral for us to go to, and then go and perpetuate the same, awkwardness and the same nagging thing. Like, there's people out there like you, Linda, that can really, help that along. And with the other things I do, like in this topic of aging, one of the things that was taught to me in the last decade is that half of our senior citizens have a disability or benefit from disability services. But when you look at agency work and you look at the field of senior citizens that our aging departments serve, and then look at you have that disability services aspect in the government realm, they're looking at half of the senior citizens serve benefit from the disability side of the equation. And this all came from, the sport that I love to do, which is show skiing. I'm a member of a water ski show team west of Milwaukee, the Pewaukee Lake Water Ski Club, and yeah, I was born into it. My mother and my two aunts, they were performing before I was born, or some people say before I was even a glimmer, in my father's eye, or whatever, whatever we want to say. But so I'm fortunate to have that come into my life. And my brother was the ambitious one that when I was 14, he joined the ski team, and that was 39 years ago, and 38 years running now for me. I joined the year after he went in. We'd go watch him water ski and so forth. The success story with our club on the aging side of this is we skied in our water ski show with one of our 90-year-old friends. And this was in 2019 when he was 90 years old. And, what a victory. What a victory for humanity. for all the world of water skiing, and to be able to show, that if you really put your mind to it and you really believe. He's a gentleman that for 15 years, he was telling us, it was a good time skiing with us in the show, and he's done. We milked him along, ladies and gentlemen, for 15 years, and encouraging him, believing in him, and looking at, how it changed for him physically, and to support him and to make it possible that he could ski till he was 90. And then when he skied at 90, I was like, his name's John. I'm like, John, I have no ambition to keep dragging along. I'm like, if you want to hang it up now. Well, and then the way life works on that is that was 2019. So in 2020 comes COVID. And then sure enough, that did change his trajectory. And he passed away at 94. And he was just a couple months shy of his 95th birthday. And he was a meat cutter. I would always have fun with him because I'm like, John, you really knew the career to have. You would do all your work in those coolers and everything. That's like cryogenics, that preserves you. You're going to have life longevity. You need to choose the right career. I can say that about Canadians that endure the cold weather all the time up in Canada. But, so for me, when we talk about music, I talk about at whatever age we are, we're all built up the same way, and everything we do in any moment comes from the same place, is that we matter. We are matter. We are neutrons, protons, electrons, and we are an expression of all this energy within us. So no matter what age we are, that's the potential energy. So the thing we're talking about is through culture, customs, genetic memory, and trends, like how technology is taking over and we're shifting our energy to other places than this intergenerational place. We're seeing that it makes a difference, and we're feeling the tension that it's not working out the way we know it could be. The largest healthcare crisis known to humankind is social isolation.
Yes.
So in terms of the internet and, so getting instant messages, getting emails, being like this on, doing a live stream is all great. It all helps. It's all something we should seek to do more of. But the other thing is what we can do in our neighborhoods with our neighbors in physical space, in our own towns, villages, and cities, face-to-face interaction. Biologically, there's nothing better. And I talk about going into town or whatever, but even going out into wilderness. What is the opportunity at people age to get out into wilderness and to have Mother Nature be the primary caregiver? What a thought. Mother Nature is our primary caregiver. I was at a renewable energy resources conference 25 years ago, and the gentleman in the front of the room said, when was the last time you were out away from anything man-made? Can't see any electrical lines, can't see any cell towers, none of that. Everywhere you look, 100% is made by Mother Nature. Green spaces, not a one thing that a hammer and a nail put together. When was the last time you were able to be submersed in nature that way? And then he would say, has it been 2 months, a month? Have you done it back then? Whatever. And so a lot of hands went up when you give a big window of time. And then as he got closer to the moment of now, the hand sharply dropped off. Mm-hmm. And that became the secret sauce. So when I talk about water skiing, the passion that I ended up being sparked with was a decade ago when a community member fell into place where he was a great candidate as a person with a physical disability to come into our water ski show and demonstrate to the public how adaptive water skiing works. Now, we had been doing adaptive water skiing in the community on an annual event every year for over 20 years to that point. But now I'm like, we're missing it. We're not putting people with disabilities in our water ski shows. Well, what happened, Christine, what happened, Linda, what happened, everybody out there watching and listening to this, is that two of our friends in the club, one who's still in the club, one who's always been there to help us with the annual event, but there was this tension about putting it into our public show. And the next day, it was like hindsight is 2020, that I thought of, wow, they had 20 reasons why this dude ought not ski. They sent him home dry that night. And the one thing, one of our friends, the one that's still in our clubs, still helping with our annual event for people with disabilities, you know, she said, well, if he skis, then everybody's got to ski. So this whole thing, the whole conundrum, you know, bothered me enough that it's the only night in my life I did not sleep a wink. And when my mother, or not my mother, my sister, holy cow, when my wife and my daughter woke up the next day, I had a family conversation with them, and out of that conversation was born from our family the Inclusion to Water Skiing campaign and the Everybody Skis program. And we asked for help with it by the Wisconsin Water Ski Federation. And the president of the Wisconsin Water Ski Federation liked what we were doing in our county so much. He just flat out asked me, like, hey, would you be willing to do that for the federation? Which means I'm not doing it at a county level, I'm doing it at a state level. And like, I just want to do this thing. If you guys want to rock with me, let's rock. Let's do this. You know what, everyone? Is with that connection with the federation and the great hearts. You talk about being heart-centered, heartfelt, heart work. These water skiers here in Wisconsin, I just can't say enough about them. They took this notion and they ran with it so far and fast. We more than sextupled, 6 times the access for people with disabilities coming through Wisconsin in 6 years. Rockford, Illinois hopped on board. Florida, the water ski capital of the world, Florida helped us. Wisconsin, we're the show ski capital of the world, thanks to Tommy Bartlett Thrill Show that was out of Wisconsin Dells. Just an amazing life experience. And you know what? As amazing as that was and is, we're still working on it. I want to take that and go 5 times more. My number is 33. I'm about a quantum leap and opening up the floodgates that things happen at a massive scale. So when we talk about aspects of aging and, you know, an aging better network, and I think of what my father did. He went as a delegate out to Washington, D.C. for the National Aging Conference he went to. And he would talk about, he was quoted in magazines that when he retired, it was not about retiring, it was about refiring. You know, he's like, there may be a little bit of smoke. You may see a little smoke up coming out the chimney, but there's still a lot of fire in the belly, you know, he'd say, you know, and stuff like that. And so that's what I made my life about. And the other thing I can share about the water ski story is I talked about a handful of years ago, I came out of the water from a water ski show practice, and I looked off to my right, and there was a passerby or somebody from the community over by a tree at our lakefront park. And I just kind of shouted, hey, are we doing anything right? You like anything? What do you think? What's your assessment? What do we need to work on? You know, and it just got the banter going. By the time I talked to him for several minutes, I came to where I'm like, what about you joining our water ski club? And that became an awkward moment where it went like pretty much a full minute of he and I just looking at each other, and he didn't have an answer for a minute, but he won the minute to win it. Because after a minute, you know what he tells me, Christine, Linda, and everybody? Is he's like, I thought you had to be somebody. That was eye-opening. That was eye-opening, because that tells me that when I come in my entertainment mode, when I kind of have that mantra and that zeal and appeal, and I, you know, tout what's happening across our 100 members and the amazing thing of the International Water Ski and Wakeboard Federation and USA Water Ski and Wake Sports, you know, all these accomplishments and all these establishments, a commonplace person feels like it's not touchable to them. It's not reachable. And so when I think of senior citizens around the world, you know, I want to be a part of making sure that culturally, in customs and in our practices that we realize that, our senior citizens, need to be at the front of the line, because of all the life experiences. Like say with our water ski show team, we have one guy who's in his 70s now, and I'm telling him he's got to ski till he's 90, because now he's in that place where he might talk about hanging it up. And I'm like, oh no, we're keeping you in like John, but I have fun with talking about our geriatric program, but really that's really where it needs to go. That whether you're into sailing, skydiving or kayaking, paddleboards, whatever this active stuff is, let's figure out how all that stuff works for our senior citizens, because it's better for everybody. I have a friend in California who talks about with being a change maker and driving an intergenerational experience and helping initiatives for mothers and kids and just creating that community dynamic that's needed. He's like, grandmothers are the secret sauce, is what he says. He's like, if we put in front of every community initiative, if we attach grandmothers to lead the way on it, everything would be successful. And he talks about how, the love the mother has for a child, and then these children they love have grandchildren, and all the love that they have upon grandchildren, might be great grandchildren, whatever. That intergenerational love is really, really the love that's needed at the community level to transcend across entire populations, and to help make sure that everybody feels that they are somebody.
Yes.
And that the community, society, there's people. And we do work with Project iHeart, a veteran service organization that combats veteran suicide by spreading hope to veterans. Project iHeart out of Paducah, Kentucky, with operations in Southern Illinois, with a vision of what we're going to do coast to coast and have a worldwide effect on the suicide issue for our servicemen and women. Just this last week, the president of Project iHeart, Brian Gibson, in this last week, he was reported 17 deaths of veterans through suicide. That's just him as one person in the mix of all this. One person, 17 deaths in a week. And the statistic is north of 44 in a day. People know the 22 number, but the issue is really double. And it's so much where we're not really on top of it, that even if you go to the agency numbers, they're still trying to hang on to the 22 number like they're doing okay with it, which they are. But society is not. That's the thing that's really needed to have happen, is that if churches, nonprofits, the educational sector, all government work, everything we do for fun and business, across the board, what we do all day long, every day, across all people, it needs to be an all hands on deck, because it's really scary. It's really something when I'm on a live stream like this. Picture Brian Gibson being here with the three of us. He's the fourth square, and we're talking away about what I'm talking about right now, and he has to excuse himself because he's getting a call. He's getting that call because it's another one of these deaths being reported. So to Linda's point, to Linda's work, the veteran community, Linda, needs your work big time. I don't know if you have an interest to have a focus in the veteran community, but with what you do, Linda, I mean, families are dealing with this unprepared all day long, every day in the veteran community alone, to a large degree. It's it's an epidemic.
If I could quick speak to that, since you asked, Kurt,
Yeah.
because of the power of music, there are more than 200 threshold choirs across the country with thousands of singers. We go where we're invited, and but hearing this, I'd say I wouldn't wait to be invited. I do know someone through hospice who who specifically, as a veteran himself, reaches out to veterans. And I've already been thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a choir of veterans or somehow introduce music? Suicide is something that is very personal for me. There are 3 people from my extended family. So yes, music has that kind of power. Why not? Why not see about making inroads to benefit veterans through the music as well?
Thank you. It's not covering it. I am privileged to have walked into your lives and to be across our desks from each other and to hear about people who've made a difference in your lives, like 90 and water skiing, show skiing, and also to know that it's an epidemic when it's hitting everyone, family or close person that certainly could have been family, that saw no other way out, or I shouldn't even put words to it, but made a choice. And I will simply say I did go to a celebration of life where I prayed for the person who was the speaker up front, because this was an extended family member, and family wanted this person who had just gotten their certificate to perform either weddings or funerals, had just gotten their certificate of ministry. And I thought, this is too much. And I thought, nope, that's absolutely not for me to decide that. But I felt like that was too much on a person at that age. And instead, I should have been realizing that they were doing a ministry to the people in that room. I was there because of supporting the people that were in that room. I had met the person that took their life at age 21. I'd met that person once or twice. But I guess wanting to be there, that's what I'm headed toward, is being there with others, saying you are not alone, you are not too uncomfortable. Your moment is not too uncomfortable. You're worth it. You are someone. You know, you don't have to be worth it at all for me to be here in this moment that is so full of different sorrows and if onlys. And I agree that coming together for a goal like making music, not a goal of being the best or winning the prize, but of making music and bringing that music to someone else, does something for every individual, for the leadership, for the people that are turning the knobs or drawing a bow across strings, or and certainly for the people who are listening and watching And there's an acknowledgement going back and forth, and that safety in numbers, and that grouping. And you actually bring me back to a person that I was not serving as a caregiver, but that person was part of the household because I was hired into private households. The person that I served would say, and it was a gentleman, he needs to, no matter what, he needs to be with those other gentlemen every week. And we hold this time as nothing will get in the way, even if my medical needs are boiling over. It's like, no, you need to, as a Vietnam vet, go and be with those other Vietnam vets, to be able to look each other in the eye and to be able to say things that other people have a very hard time hearing, or wanting to even know about. That has to happen. It was kind of like I was being told as the caregiver, it's a good thing you're here, because now this member of the family feels released to go and be with those people, and to be able to come back going, so-and-so passed away. So-and-so just became a grandparent, just to be able to come back with a new story, and that visceral, palpable, tactile feeling of being at the same table and laughing. Here was the joke, the laughing that I would hear when this person returned to the house and I was there in interim, and would be able to say, I looked around the table today and I said, now look, guys, we know how to be quiet because we had to be in order to still be alive at this time when we were in Vietnam. But I tell you, every time we all stand up from the table, everybody's groaning and, and, and saying, oh boy, there better not be a line for, what. And that was just such a funny moment. It was just, we all understand we're aging. We're beyond the point when we were 18, 19, 20 years old, and dealing with the military part of our life. And just to be able to laugh with each other on something like that, and know I'm going to be there next week, and somebody else may pass because of our age, and somebody else may be able to say, hey, new life has come into our family, or I saw so-and-so, or guess who I found on Facebook, or, and just that looking forward to coming together. And that's what I can see with veterans, with water skiing, with the coming together. At this point, I did look down and I saw the time, and I would just like to give each of you an opportunity to put, imprint right into this live stream, which is being recorded and will forever be part of the archive with aspects of aging for AgingBetterNetwork.com, because it is a resource website with people who you offer solutions. You've talked about things that are not common to talk about. In fact, Kurt, you even said, wow, I feel like I haven't matured to the point where I cannot be awkward at a funeral. And I'm like, when 10, 11, 12 years ago, I didn't know what a caregiver was. And my idea of dementia was, I hope there's room at that place that takes dementia people, because I don't know what to do with that. And because of training, because of practicing, because of videos I watched, because of the needs of the people that I was hired to be with, I got really comfortable with being with a person in all the different stages, or comfortable. I had courage and information to tackle whatever was going on dementia wise, and had different ways that I could use my creativity and my experiences in other homes to be able to be a positive part of life with dementia. And never before that I had that information and knew that there was a positive way to handle things besides tying someone down or giving them something that would sedate them, or keeping them in a rubber room, or whatever all I thought dementia was about. So when you talk about, growing or maturing into that, boy, I have met some people who in their early 20s who are like, I decided I loved being in these situations so much. I wanted more training, and I got a certificate, and I got a master's degree in something end of life or something like dementia that people just aren't naturally trained for. I just appreciate that you both were able to respond to what I said today and respond to each other. So, Linda, let's start with you. I would love for you to show your book again. And Kurt, when it's your turn, I would love for you to let us know more about veterans and suicide awareness and prevention. So, starting with you, Linda.
And I'd say I also talk about dementia and stroke in here, other issues specific with music. I'd say be there, listen, and bring music. Thresholdchoir.org that you have on there is a national organization. You don't need to be a threshold singer through them. If music works for you, if you can carry a tune, if you have friends, if you're in a church choir, use that, or bring music on your smartphone or an internet. The other thing that I didn't get to talk about, and I'll just briefly mention, the Conversation Project. And it's the conversationproject.org on your screen. As maybe Kurt said in a different way, it's always too soon until it's too late. Oh, I don't need to get a proxy because it's too soon. I don't need to think about what matters most to me. And I've done presentations on that, because what matters most to me is important on how I live my life now, how I live my life as I age, how I live my end of life, and might inform the choices I make around treatments, rejecting them or accepting them, if they permit me to continue to do what matters most for me. So having those conversations, the Conversation Project has all kinds of free information on beginning conversations. And even without that, we can just begin them naturally. Oh, did you hear so-and-so is sick and they decided to do X, Y, and Z? I wonder if you would do that same thing, or if you would choose differently, Or Terry Bradshaw was a while back, right, the QB for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in part in the article, he's saying, I told my wife, who's a little younger than I am, that I want her to be holding my hand when I die. Hearing just things like that in the news, in the neighborhood, what do you think about like that? What do you think? Do you think you'd want to be holding my hand, or something else? It can be a natural way to get into just a smidgen, but it breaks through the not talking about it, even if we're just cracking open the door to begin talking.
Beautiful. Makes sense. And you called music a bridge. The person dying needs, this is a brand new bridge. It's a bridge they haven't crossed before. And so they might need that music. You might need that music, and your relationship will not be worse for having a song that you both have positive attachments to, or just music, like you said, just instrumental music. It makes a room less lonely. And Kurt, there's probably a few things you didn't get to talk about too.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Christine, Linda, I say it's what keeps you coming back. Because yes, I do have a geyser of stories and quips and quirps and dad jokes and whatever you want. I've got it in the hopper ready to go. It's like golf clubs out of a golf bag. I got a club for every situation we may be in. I want to build the bridge in this conversation, because you mentioned bridge, and I've got a different application of thinking of a bridge. With the work we do in live streaming on our side of things, that we also produce shows and so forth. We have a lady with late diagnosis of Asperger's, and she's created an element that's called the Aspie Bridge. And so she produces every Tuesday the Aspie Bridge show. And the idea is that she looks at every woman with Asperger's, late diagnosis and so forth, as that torchbearer to lead the way through their lived experience, to help other people that are not the woman with late diagnosis with Asperger's to understand how to build that, friendly and appropriate and favorable situation and interaction, and to just do things communication wise and so forth, structures of projects, the whole thing. And through being a torchbearer and showing other people the way, to basically help other people come into the role of being a bridge builder. So that's where I realized that someone like me can be a bridge builder, across all these different populations. And, in the disability circuit, the disability community has taught me I can think of myself as a disability ally. And through all this, I learned a lot about caregiving, that like in health and human services, that it's become very obvious that we just don't direct all of our energies at the person, that has that demographic. You look at their caregiver and the family and the people around them, their support network, that they help a person develop a support network to keep that continuity that anybody, expects in their life. And, so as a program or as a service, you attend to things in that way. And you mentioned dementia. I was a part of, dementia friendly communities initiatives and so forth. And so to me, the bottom line is this. We are people of energy, like the music. Music is perfect because it gets those vibrations going, that it activates our energy. The music is an expression of our energy. And we have that to exchange with other people and other persons. And so we're always deciding, what do we want our energy to be? Opening and favoring and feeding and fueling and, being, how can I help? Or also allowing other people to help you. Being 52, almost 53, and I'm talking to someone 85 years old, I think of, wow, what that person can provide me, and my being a person that allows that can be very empowering. So you're always assessing it. What is the exchange possible? It's through those exchanges that creates connection and interaction and, creates a role. And that's what's empowering to all of us. So that's the biggest gift that we can when we talk about suicide. That someone in suicide ideation, the biggest thing we offer is to be present with them. and then the possibilities build from there. So that's what I want to grow all around the world, that we're more and more present with each other. Thank you so much for letting me be here today. You got 5 seconds to wrap up the show.
My husband, who briefly his picture appeared on the screen, he is going to close the curtain. So go ahead, honey. Go ahead and close the curtain. Then there's another picture of him. And then I just say an hour is never long enough when you love to talk about what you love to talk about. Goodbye. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Kurt.